I'm really excited to introduce our final speaker tonight. Tom Shrader is the founding pastor of this church. And speaking personally, he is one of the most influential men in my life, and I am honored that he agreed to come talk with you tonight. Please welcome Tom Shrader.
Buddy, thank you. Well, good evening. It's great to see you. I don't get out much anymore, and I haven't been in front of a crowd this big in a while. So you'll be done in another hour or two if I get my way. They made a fundamental flaw when they arranged the speakers. They put aging at 8:49. And I said, these people, it's our bedtime, buddy. And I know one of the things I preach is you got to know who you're speaking to. So there's a whole group of you that hear aging and you want out, and I'm the only thing standing between you and the door. There's another group who desperately want to hear about aging, but you've been sitting there for 2 hours. You got to go to the bathroom so bad, you're not going to hear a word I say. So I've got 9 minutes, and it's a big topic. I've got 3 things I want to accomplish. I want to talk to you about just this size, numerical of the issue. I want to invite you into a glimpse of some things that we discovered. We interviewed and surveyed about 500 people, some from Redemption Church, but from churches all over, mostly Christians. I want to show you what we discovered that may or may not surprise you, and then something that I think is like the huge takeaway of this whole thing. So here's the numbers. Just take a look at this. In the United States, every day, 10,000 people turn 65. That's a staggering number. 417 people an hour, 7 people every minute. Now, I like graphics, so take a look at this. This is a picture of historic Kinnick Stadium. It's the University of Iowa. And that's taken from the north end zone, which has now been refurbished. When that picture was taken, the seating capacity of Kinnick Stadium was 70,585. That's how many people right there turn 65 every week in this country. And we know the numbers. Those numbers are going to continue for 18 more years till 2030. It's a huge number of people. They're all around you. You are one. And you've heard so much tonight. There's a reoccurring theme of it exposes your heart. It exposes your heart. Well, I hadn't planned on this, but let me tell you what. Aging exposes your heart. It reveals your pride. It brings you into a world you're not ready for. I got my first taste of this. I'm at Walgreens, and I'm checking out, and I've got an enema, Preparation H, and a pack of Depends. You're checking to see if I got them on right now, aren't you? I know, you can always tell. I'm always one of those little Christian girls. I'm checking out. This is what I got. I'm checking out, and the girl puts them in a bag and gives them to me and says, "Have a nice day." And I mean, I can't stand this stuff. I can sometimes be cynical. And I said to her, "What are the chances of me having a nice day just based on what you see in this bag?" But she didn't know. I went to buy my first box of Depends. And I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know where to go. And it's in Fry's, and I know Fry's pretty well. So I figure it's going to be to the right, but it won't be with It won't be with like Pampers, but it'll be somewhere. So I'm kind of sneaking over, and there is, I'll say from here to the end of the platform, floor to the top of the shelves with the pens. So it wasn't, it wasn't where do I find them? It's extra strength or all night. I said, well, I don't think all night's going to be the issue, but whatever it is. And you're into this world, and it's a world you're not used to. And it's a world that if you're an entrepreneur, business person, church, grocery store, restaurant, and you want to market, how about if I could expand your market by 10,000 buyers every day? When we surveyed people prior to retirement, the number one concern that we found by 39% was money, and you would expect that. Healthcare was next, healthcare costs, and then health issues. After people had been retired, it had flipped around, and the number one concern was health issues. I'm at a doctor. I was just at a new doctor last Monday. First time I saw him. I think we're now legally married in 4 states, but I'm not sure. He did some stuff. I said, wow, I don't know. Going into retirement, we surveyed these people. Number one goal, it wasn't even close, what they want to do, travel. Number one was travel. When we interviewed them and they'd been retired 3 to 4 years, travel went down to 4% of their goals. I mean, if you've seen a cathedral from a boat, you've pretty much seen all the cathedrals there are to see. And it's something, it becomes something way bigger than that. They describe the idea of, I don't want to work. I want freedom. But then, after we're all done, we put a little kind of survey in there where you could fill it in. Gave them a space. And the question was, what's your biggest surprise or challenge at retirement? And I didn't put these on slides. I want to read them to you. One, I don't know if it was a male or female. I'm going to suspect one lady wrote, spending more time with my spouse is not always a good thing. Men and women need their space. Listen to this, and this becomes a theme. And I grant you, I edited them, but it was a reoccurring theme. Not knowing where I fit into society that embraces youth and aging is something to be feared. In my head, I'm not done, but it seems that I'm superfluous. And in this case, to the body of Christ. I once had a purpose. Now I have to search it out. Another one, 30 years ago, I was, or at least felt relevant to mainstream, in this case, mainstream church. And it just expose your heart. I have more worries about health and the future. I struggle to trust them to God. And I have faith that He's in control. Number one challenge, not being disciplined to stay in the Word. When I'm busy, I get disconnected from church attendance, Bible study. I get lazy. That's the reoccurring. I started to jump all over it. I think about the challenges and eventually death. Here you go. Faithful Bible study. These are what are your challenges? Faithful Bible study. Staying thankful for all of life's ups and downs. I had, and I'm smarter than this, but I had this idea that somehow at age 65, I would age out a struggle. There wouldn't be any more struggle anymore. Somehow, I never bothered thinking it through, Somehow I'd get to 65 and all the lust would shut off. All the greed would shut off. I did a 1-hour version of this talk, and it was posted on a website at Redemption Tempe. And I got an email from a guy, and this is going to set up the close. And it said this, and I did print it out so you could take a look at it. I listened to your first Wednesday talk again in the middle of the night because old people don't sleep well. Would love to chat with you about the subject if we can. All of your observations ring true for me. It's easily the most difficult period of my life at every level. You're not going to age out of problems. I love statistics. Now, not a lot of them, not enough to be an accountant or anything, but I love stats. Here's a stat. Every 11 seconds in this country, a senior goes to the emergency room because of a fall. Every 19 minutes, a senior in this country dies because of a fall. I'm at the mall, and there's this lady, and she's older than me, and she's trying to figure out whether to get on the escalator or not. And there was a day when that would have just hacked me off. I would have said, why don't you go back to Canada or something, get on the thing or get out of the way. But now I know why. When you take your first step on an escalator, you're committed. There's no turnaround. And if you're going, and I just did it. Yesterday I went to the mall for the first time, and I love the mall, for the first time in 6 months. And I got on the escalator. Going up is one thing, but going down, it's scary. And your body's falling apart. And all the things that you used to count on physically aren't there anymore. You used to be who's who, now you're who's he. You used to be the one that called the shots. You don't call the shots anymore. And the world just begins to drift away from you. So when you sit and you look at, let's say you're a younger type person, you look at the older people and you say, they're crotchety and they're miserable. Well, let me tell you what they are. They're afraid. The world's changing so fast. And what it was isn't anymore. And it's not when you sit there, look and say, it's changed for good. Now, if you're an old person, and I feel like I can talk to you as one of you, don't build into that stereotype. Don't sit there and watch Fox News all day long and listen to Rush Limbaugh and then think the world's falling apart. It's going to screw you up listening to that stuff all day. And nobody's going to want to be with you. And nobody's going to want to talk about you. And no young person's going to want to be around you. And I can flip into that in a nanosecond. Jeremy and Brian came to visit me. And they were there 4 hours. Now, I think it's significant. They've never been back. I don't know what that says, but they were there 4 hours. And I just talked to them. And I can just see all the joy drained out of them. Don't feed into that. Here's the takeaway, and that clock stopped, and I gotta go. You gotta go. I could stay long. Here's the quote. I want to take a look at this last quote from. I figure if you quote a Russian novelist, people will think you're smart. Dostoevsky said this: the second half of a man's life is made up of nothing but the habits he's acquired in the first half. So those of you who are older, here's what I've discovered. You're not, forget financial, you're not spiritually prepared to age. This talk on aging is really geared toward anybody but a 35-year-old. If you're waiting to 65 to do your Bible study, to grow closer to Christ, it's not going to happen. Are there exceptions? Sure, but I'll bet you're not the exception. If you say, I'm going to wait, it doesn't get easier. You have more time. But you tend not to plan it. You tend not to schedule it out. You want free time. I get up almost every day by 5 o'clock. And I watch Channel 3 and Channel 10 weather. And I compare them. Okay? And I have a hummingbird feeder, and I check a hummingbird. And at this point, it's now 6:30, and my bucket list is empty. There's nothing else to do, man. And if you don't schedule it, you won't get it in. I want to shatter the illusion that somehow you're going to age out of your problems, or you'll miraculously at your 65th birthday throw a switch and become this spiritual giant. You won't. I think what the aging thing is revealing is that we aren't prepared as believers for this. You know it's coming. You're not the exception. I can give you the stats. You need to be ready. And I just challenge you to take a look at that. And it's never too late to start preparing for this. But it's never too early either. And I can say it's inevitable. The only way to avoid it is just go out early on your own. Okay? Thanks for listening.